Now we can see you. Yo, can you hear us? We still cannot hear you.
Hi, Linda. This is Roman. I'm also confirming that I see Yo, but I can't hear him. And I just saw Rifat put his stuff down, so I think he's coming back to be our in-person helper.
Okay, good. Well, it's 7 o'clock and time to start. Okay, so this is interface to network security functions, and the session is recorded. Here's a note. Well, I think this is 5th day of the meeting, so everybody should have read it. If you're not, please do so. Here are some general tips for IETF 113. I think for this session, most people are remote, so we're all calling in through the Meet Echo.
It's not most, all.
We do
I don't
have
see anybody here.
people. Oh,
Nobody
okay.
here. Yeah, can you hear
Okay,
us?
so
Again, thank you so much for sitting in the room for us to make sure we're appropriately bridging the kind of both locations, both remote and in person.
thank you. So I encourage everybody to look at the notes and make sure your name and your questions, your answers are captured correctly. Many thanks to Sue Harris for volunteer taking the notes for us. Thank you, Sue. So here's the agenda of the meeting. Any questions for the agenda? No question. Let's just go further. So we haven't met for quite a few IETFs because of the data model has been under review. There's lots of like minor changes, so couldn't warrant the face-to-face meeting time. So now we have 3 drafts under IESG review, right? Capability data model, NSF facing interface, and NSF monitoring data models. Lately, there are still many dialogue on them. I think Ron, can you correct me if I'm correct that capability data model, we still need one more yes for this to move forward?
That seems exactly right with my recollection. Let me just confirm that with the switchover, the numbers may be off by 1 or 2. So give me a second. Yeah, it'll be either, if we're short, it's either kind of a yes or no objection. Data tracker waiting to respond. Yeah, yes, hold on. All right, so yes, so for the capability model, we're actually in better shape than that. We have enough ballots. We just need to clear the discusses. Is it okay if I talk about the other documents too?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so the capability document, we need to convert there's enough ballots. The discusses need to be clear. For the NSF facing interfaces, same situation, enough ballots, discusses need to clear. For the monitoring data model, though, that has both discusses, but also needs more ballots.
Oh, that need more ballots. Okay. So I see lots of discussions on the mailing list. Paul, can you update us with that status? Have you cleared all the discussed comments?
So, okay. Actually, 3 data young model, capability, NS facing, and monitoring interface. Actually, the bullet will be lifted because I addressed all of the discuss comment. So also I send email address. So lift those maybe one or two discussed, but I believe I addressed all of them. Okay, so I think so we can get approval from ISG.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
You're
Paul, for the
okay.
very hard work.
Okay, thank you for your.
If I could jump in here as well, is that okay?
Go ahead, Roman.
Yeah, thanks. So first of all, I've done some meetings kind of with Linda in the pandemic. I haven't done one with you live, Paul. So it's nice to see your face.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, Roman.
So I know we're talking about clearing discusses. The other thing I would say is about being off by one in certain cases is I believe that Ben's discusses are going to be picked up by Paul. Paul has not had a chance to really be, Paul Wooters hasn't, the other SEC AD now, the incoming one, hasn't had a chance to, I think, do all the data tracker magic. So all the things that you previously saw assigned to Ben, I would expect in the next day or two, I don't want to put constraints on his schedule. He's going to kind of pick up and he's going to be able to adjudicate and respond back to those things.
Oh, good. So looks like in good shape. Thank you, Roman.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, you're welcome.
And we have 2 working group drafts waiting to be sent to, like, for last call. One is a consumer-facing interface data model. Another one is registration interface data model. Those 2 are to be discussed today because there were comments about those 2, and also NSF facing interface data model are not consistent. So Paul is going to give us an update on the changes and whether we should make them consistent or not. With that, we go to the first presentation. So, Pei-Ling, can you do the presentation from your end, or do you want me to show the slides?
I can show here.
Okay.
So I need your approval of that request.
Okay, I approve that. Oh, I just need to end my.
Yes, you need and your yes. Oh, you mean the whole screen? Sorry. Okay. Wow. So can you hear my screen?
Yes, yes, we can see your screen.
Okay.
Yes.
So hello everyone. This is a draft of I2NSF remote attestation interface young data model, and in fact, this is the second edition of the original draft, which name is Trust Enhanced I2NSF. So this compared to the first edition, we revised the draft name to I2NSF remote attestation interface young data model. And the first reason is that it is more easy to align with the rights with the recharter of I2NSF, the potential recharter of I2NSF, which we will discuss later. And the second reason is that the term of trust enhanced is not a specific term, which may bring some potential controversy or misunderstanding. So the second item is that we added a new paragraph about the definition of granularity of remote attestation in I2NSF. And right now, in my opinion, I think there are 3 components in I2NSF deserve a remote attestation. And there are NSFs, and maybe the basic platform carries the NSF, and then the root of trust, which can be show the device identity. And the third bullet is that the remote attestation interface is also revised based on the granularity design, and the 2 kinds of function remain in the interface: the remote procedure call and the notification. The last one is that the reference value of remote attestation. Can you hear me now?
We
Hello?
can hear you. We can hear you clearly.
Okay, because I changed the screen, so I can't hear. I can't see the Mitaco. I can only see my PDF. So if there is someone want to comment, please let me know.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Okay. Okay. The last item is the reference value of remote attestation, and this hasn't been defined by rights group yet. There have some personal draft, but hasn't been adopted as working group draft. So I just write a temporary interface and added to the draft. Next slide is yeah, this is the main topic. It's a relationship between rights and I2NSF remote attestation. So I think that rights has defined the basic architecture of remote attestation, and they define different types of remote attestation evidence, like based on TPM and TE and maybe UCCS, and other drafts like attestation results. And in the I2NSF remote attestation, I think that we just focus on the remote attestation of NSF, especially in the I2NSF architecture. And the remote attestation target is NSF and its platform, and the root of trust in I2NSF is unlimited. So it may be a TPM, maybe a TE, or even like a QPC. I'm not sure. And the verifier and the relying party in I2NSF, maybe a security controller, which is to be determined because we will discuss in the next page. So with all these drafts in rights, we need to define one interface in I2NSF remote attestation and to focus on the NSF itself. Next slide is about the necessity of I2NSF remote attestation. I think there are three main reasons, and the first one is the security reasons. And in a remote environment, the deployment of NSF may be inappropriate. And then there may have potential attack by the remote platform that who carries NSF. And the third one is that we may want to know the security status or trustworthiness of the NSF. So the second main reason is that the practicability reasons, and because that the target and the granularity in this remote attestation, it should be the NSF. And the REST architecture is not very convenient to use in I2NSF directly, because that a different device may have different root of trust, and one unified remote attestation interface would be more convenient for I2NSF to implementation. And there are some future extension reasons, and this topic may not include in IETF, but I think they are worth to mention about. And first, maybe it's the zero trust concept may use I2NSF remote attestation to assess NSF trust status. And maybe the SASE, they may want to use the I2NSF remote attestation to enhance edge security function. And then the security automation may use I2NSF remote attestation to manage the NSF. And the last bullet is that decentralized security intelligence sharing may use remote attestation to judge the trustworthiness of such intelligence. For example, if a device is untrusted, so its security intelligence may not be useful. Next slide is about the current interface overview of this draft. Right now, this draft only focuses on the NSF remote attestation interface and the reference value interface. These two interfaces is the basic interface of this architecture, and the endorser, the connection between the security controller and the endorser may not have to be an interface, because it may be offline method like X509. Next slide is about the interface detail. And right now, this draft have three basic groupings. The first one is grouping NSF remote attestation. The second is grouping platform remote attestation. And the third one is root of trust remote attestation. And these three grouping will map to 6 different interfaces, like notification of NSF, notification to the root of trust, and then there are three remote procedure call interfaces. And the main reference document about the RADs are mostly Chara. Its name is Young Data Model for Challenge Response-Based Remote Attestation Procedure using TPMs. And the EAT, it's the Entity Attestation Token. So this is the issue that need to be discussed. And first one is the trust model of I2NSF. And I think people we need to define which component we need to trust, which we don't have to trust. And in the potential recharter, which Paul sent to the mailing list, and he mentioned that both the NSF user, the security controller itself need to be remote attestation. I think this is a question which we need to discuss later. I don't have an obvious answer right now. So the next issue is about the granularity of remote attestation. And in this draft, I think I defined the three layers. The first one is the root of trust. Then it's the platform. Then we'll have different NSFs that deserve remote attestation. Like the platform could be a traditional OS operation system or a virtualization platform like a hypervisor. And if the platform does not support virtualization, then the NSF will be an application or process in the OS. If the platform is a hypervisor, and think that the granularity of NSF deserve a remote attestation will be a virtual machine, because I think that in some technology like TPM, the VTPM may be not convincible because it's the virtualization, it's not physical. So we need to do not use that concept about like a VTPM. So yeah, this is the basic information about draft. So is there any comments? I will stop sharing the screen. Is that okay? Or what should I do? Because, wow.
This is, I'm confused. Are you going to walk through the decision questions you had for the working group at this time or later?
You mean the
Linda,
the
you're-
decision of this draft? Yeah. So, Paul, do you want to comment? Or
Yeah, I think very nice presentation. Thank you. Your okay, sure. Okay, maybe. So my comment is, I think I checked the LET working group. Basically, they are focused on the architecture and procedure rather than some interface young data model. So in order to provide remote attestation to protect some inside or supply chain attack, I think this work is, I think, very important. Also, currently, the draft has right direction. So we take advantage of the previous I2NSF, the young data model, and we can synchronize with the Penguin's remote attestation. So I think it is feasible to make also implement proof using the future hackathon project with Penguin and our group together. Okay, that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Roman, you joined the queue.
I think Weipan is on the queue first.
Weipan's ahead of me.
Okay, go ahead, Weipan.
I have a clarification question, and I think you mean in this draft you mean to do the remote attestation for the virtualization platform, and as I know, in ETSI, ISG, NFV, they are also doing the remote develop the standards about the remote attestation for the NFV. So I don't know whether there will be overlaps, and so I don't know how deep if this draft will go for about the virtualization.
Yeah, the virtualization is just one scenario of our draft, I think. And right now, I haven't think too deep about how to implement the remote attestation in the virtualization environment. And I'm not sure how ISG work about the virtualization draft. So I think I can just research it later, and I can't give you a direct answer right now. Sorry.
Okay. And another question or a comment is about you mentioned the SASE, security access service
Yes.
edge, and I think this may be I2NSF may be helpful to be used in this scenario. So
Yes.
but I don't know how they can be implemented or enhanced, because but if the I2NSF can be used in this scenario, it will increase the applicable or deployment in the industrial of I2NSF. So I think maybe we could consider this in the recovery. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I agree to your comment, because I think SASE is a more advanced technology of beyond the I2NSF, but I think I2NSF is based on is a flow-based network of security function, and SASE is about the flow-based and non-flow-based security function. So I'm not sure we can cover these two different types. But I agree with you. We can consider more about the SASE in the recharting. Thank you.
Okay, Roman and then Diego.
Hi, Roman.
Hi, Penguin. Thanks for the presentation. It was really helpful to also have the side-by-side with the rats and what you're talking about, and the way you overlaid the architecture made it really kind of clear what you're talking about. I have no AD hat on here. I have two clarifying questions asked. So I'll ask them back to back. So the first one was, given that we're talking about the network, virtualized kind of network functions, I didn't understand how exactly like you're shimming down to a TPM without intermediaries, and kind of how the trust model would work given those intermediaries was my first question. And then my second question was, there is some work with the Yang model in Chara that appears to be doing attestation about kind of properties from the TPM, which seems like the same root of trust that you're talking about. I didn't understand, why that was insufficient. Because I mean, it's a Yang model, and I guess I figured like you could pull that out, even if the existing RACS architecture is a little inconvenient, as you were kind of explaining. Why you just couldn't reuse the modeling? Thanks.
Yeah, the first question is about in the virtualization scenario. And since the TPM is a hardware, so the vTPM may be not trusted. So we think that the hypervisor is the operation system, is the platform. So the VM, the virtual machine runs on that. We consider it as a maybe a process, maybe an image which will load to the hypervisor. And when at the start of the running of the virtual machine, we will measurement the image of that VM. So we will to see if it's trusted, and that's my opinion. Because I think that vTPM is not very mature technology, so we need to do not use that. Yeah. And the second question you mentioned is that Chara, and I think Chara is about the how to measure a device, and it will send like the EMA and the measurement list to the verifier. But I think that that is not convenient to the NSF, because that in a scenario we may think that there are three NSFs, like there are three NSFs in a platform, and the first two are correct, and the third is not correct. So we want to challenge the third one, and when we use the Chara, it's not convenient because Chara will send you all the message of the device. It's not focused on the NSF. That's what I think.
Maybe I'll have to look into the details. My understanding, at least kind of with on the Chara, is, yeah, and I'm making a modeling observation rather than an observation on exactly how RATS is using the word. I thought the way that the IMA was shimmed into kind of Chara, they were actually really flexible on all the different properties. And so all of IMA was in scope, which gave you properties beyond the initial boot level kind of things, which they are saying is that they're trying to get. But I figured that some of that, the network virtualized kind of function stuff could be shimmed into IMA as a generic modeling thing, but I haven't looked at the specifics enough to say, and it looks like you have.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because of what you said, I referred a lot of information about the Chara.
Well, I assume Joab was saying now, Diego, so I was trying to read your lips. Hello, thank you. No, a few comments. Originally stepped up because of the comment on NFE, but there are a few others. Well, regarding NFE, what is proposed here is not incompatible at all with what ETSI is doing, right, or what we ETSI did some time ago, among other things, because what ETSI did was precisely to identify a set of level of assurance for the procedures for attesting infrastructure or functions. So probably we could reuse some of the recommendations there on the levels of assurance, reference them, but it's not going to be incompatible, and it will be a natural evolution. I believe that precisely is the other way around. Whatever we start here would be useful for ETSI to refuel their work in the future. But here I think that the IETF for this in particular is better suited because the I2NSF architecture has this architecture with the controller, with the mechanisms for verifying, etc., that goes beyond what ETSI is concentrated, that is about the life cycle of the virtualized environment. So I think that there is, I mean, for sure, there can be some small overlaps, but this is something that will be easy to solve. And for sure, there is not, I don't foresee any clear clash in the future. This is one thing. The second thing is regarding this discussion on Chara and the applicability. I think that Chara as a mechanism for request and response would be totally applicable in this case. Something else is about the claims and how we structure the claims and how we structure the verification of the claims and who is going to be the verifier, how policies are going to be expressed, etc. In general, on Monday, if I remember well, it was at the TIP session, and TIP is doing precisely right now something very similar to what we are proposing here. That is, taking RATS architecture, taking RATS concept, taking the format for claims, the protocol, etc., and saying, well, look, for verifying and for making the attestation of a trusted execution environment, we need this, we need that. This claim is sufficient, this claim is not going to be sufficient. This kind of analysis is something that I believe we have to do here in the context of what we have in place with the security controller, the different capabilities, etc. That's and I think that in that sense, what Penling is proposing is precisely goes in that direction. And well, that and the proposed restructuring, that is another stage.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, any more questions on this? So this is good. Thank you very much. So now we go to the next one, which is Paul. It's your turn to Can you share the slide from your side? Paul, can you share the screen? No, we cannot hear Paul, right? Paul, we cannot hear you.
No, we can't hear him. No, not yet.
Okay.
No, we can hear you. Yeah.
You can hear. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
No. Wait, I
Yeah,
cannot
we
see
can.
you.
You okay? Great. So let me explain quickly. We have a limited time, so I focus on the analysis between consumer-facing interface and NSF-facing interface. So this is our framework. Okay. So this is a consumer-facing interface, and this is an NSF-facing interface. Okay. So as you know, the consumer-facing interface is for front-end web application is usually deliver high-level security policy. Okay, and then typically high-level policy can be translated into low-level security policy by security controller, especially security policy translator. And NSF-facing interface (NFI) is focused on providing security detailed configuration as a low-level policy. Okay, so as you can see, top-level Yang tree comparison, the most of the elements in Yang module are similar, okay, except some description, right? So description case is omitted. Also, both CFI and FI, they provide language tag and resolution strategy. Okay. However, you can see the difference is the default action priority usage. Okay. So default action and priority usage omitted from CFI because our philosophy of CFI to make CFI as simple as possible to let security operator specify high-level policy. Okay, so those default action and priority usage can be set by security policy translator. Okay, and also CFI endpoint group and threat prevention are used to register information for translation purpose. Okay. Next, rule level Yang tree comparison. Okay, so rule. Our I2NSF case event condition action model, right? ECA, right? So you can see event condition action. Okay, so here also event condition action. Okay, so but the long connection case here, this one is typically used to allow connection is maintained after such a connection, even though there is no traffic activity. Okay, so this kind of time for duration allow the connection is alive, even though there is no actual traffic. So our philosophy of CFI also applied to make as simple as possible for CFI. Okay. Next. So and then event case, you can see the same. This is CFI, this NFI, right? So description is for the operator some human readable sentences. Okay, so except that the same. And then this is condition. So event condition action, right? So condition case also you can see usually we specify user group over device group can be translated into L3 IP addresses, okay, used by the user or device IP address, okay. So those endpoint group are used to register user group, device group IP address, okay, version 4 or version 6. Eventually, this information stored in security controller and translated by security controller. And then, okay, CFY, the aims at easy security policy compilation, okay? So I saw, right, the IP address, user device group, IP addresses are stored into the database in security controller, okay? And then some element in NFI can be handled by security policy translator, okay? So those I can skip it. And then condition, okay? So condition case, you can see CFI condition and the NFI condition is, you can see the similar with each other, okay? Even though some names are a little different, but most of the structure is the same, okay? So, but here note, the registration of a pair of name, here name and actual value for condition CFI needed to be, okay, done, security controller for an actual translation later, okay? So policy translator can handle all those things. And then, so you can see CFI, NFI, young data model, similar for some security attacks, okay? DDoS, etc., okay? The difference is CFI, some information, name and value compilation saved in the database for easy compilation, translation of purpose, okay? And also the name and the value compilation can be stored. So using this kind of XML XPath, okay, using this. So we have this example for translation of name value for translation purposes, okay, such as the employee case, they are using IP address ranges. Device group, web server case, they are using this kind of the IP addresses. Also, the SNS website is this. This one is for the database in the security controller for translation purpose, okay? And the next one is a condition. So you can see condition is almost the same. You can see the name is the same. Description, I mentioned, there is no description elements in the CFI. Okay, context contains extra information, especially the filtering purposes, okay? And then other cases are the same. And then you can see we have other information, geographic location. So geographic location, name and actual the corresponding IP or IP addresses, either IP version 4 or IP version 6, okay? This also restoration is performed, okay? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So you can see, so the young data model in CFI, eventually the context condition can be a one-to-one mapped to context condition in NFI, which means that we can translate, okay, except some certain high-level value, user group or device group or geographic, some information can be translated specific IP addresses, okay? That can be handled by controller side, okay? So time condition, geographic location can be handled, okay? So in the action case, okay, let's move on. So I explained the event condition, right? Now action. So action case, we have two action in CFI, primary action and secondary action, okay? Usually primary action is, you can see those things, okay? Ingress, egress action, pass, drop, eject, something like that. And then secondary action case, usually typical example is some logging, okay? So we can using those kinds of packet level action and pro level action or advanced action for DPI or some DDoS attack mitigation case. we can divide it into more detail in NFI. So remember also, some cases high-level CFI policy try to, for example, employee cannot access some SNS website during work time. So in that case, we need two security services. One is a firewall based on IP addresses. The other is web filtering. So those services can be combined using service function chaining in NFI interface. Okay. So conclusion, there is no translation of problem from CFI policy to NFI policy. So which means the security controller can handle those missing elements, such as the default, some action or priority can be handled by security controller. And also CFI Young data model provide high-level policy for easy configuration. So some detailed information restoration of a payroll name and value can be done in advance into database in security controller. And NFI Young data model focus on providing security policy configuration for NFIs as a low-level policy. Okay, so that's all. So my message is, so CFI and NFI Young data model are well synchronized. Also, can be easily translated. We demonstrated using the hackathon project. So I believe now our CFI has the mature stage. So we can finish our working group last call, and then we can submit to IESG. That is my opinion. Thank you. So, okay, let's move on. Legislation. Linda. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's move on. Legislation. Quickly, I finish. Okay, this one is very short. Okay, legislation interface is based on capability Young data model, because most of element Young imported from capability. So legislation, you can see develop management system registers the capability NSF, okay, into security controller. Okay, so also certain cases I2NSF user delivers high-level Young security policy, right, XML, and then there is no such kind of capability NSF, and then it can query. Okay, so and then develop management system, so searching that kind of capability and then register again. Okay, so we providing two things. One is query, the other one is the register. Okay, of security. Okay, security NSF capabilities. Okay, so objectives of legislation interface. Okay, I mentioned, right, to the futures. Okay, so let me move on. So we have two things. I mentioned the NSF capability restoration and the NSF capability query. Okay, so this is two features. Okay, and then we have this the information of the model. Okay, so the restoration have this hierarchy. Okay, so NSF capabilities is imported by our capability data models. Okay, so other cases we also providing access information such as IP address and the port number for NSF. Okay, to provide the specific security services. Okay, and then this is the Young tree. So we import the security capability. We import, okay, our I2NSF capability data model. Okay, other performance capability cases to explain the capability in terms of some processing or bandwidth and inbound outbound. Okay, and also access information. I mentioned the IP address and port number for NSF. Okay, so other cases, okay, quality is also input. So given some certain query, such as some, for example, so web filtering, that kind of query is the input, and then we're searching on this, okay, using this capability data model based, and then we make some XML, and then we send to DMS, okay, and then DMS return corresponding capability to a security controller, and the security controller can translate appropriate NSF-facing interface XML, okay? So this is a query, okay? So this is XML example. So we updated the registration interface XML example based on the latest capability our draft, okay? So conclusion, registration interface has a short, young data model based on capability young data model, okay? So this one is almost, okay, done, except, okay, one discussed. I believe that also lifted up soon, okay? And then most of the changes, registration interface, just the XML syntax based on capability young data model, and then additional information, capability, performance information, access information can be provided by registration interface, okay? That's all. So my conclusion is also registration interface also ready to submit to the IST. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So the registration, you're going to import some of the capability data model, right? You're going to
Right,
reuse some
yeah.
of it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Any other questions from the group? I guess Tom is not here. He was the one complaining about inconsistency. So we can have to follow up with him on the mailing list.
Right.
So next, we only have 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
So for the charter discussion, can you,
okay,
you have
so,
slides,
okay.
right?
Okay, I have a slide. So maybe I share the okay, so maybe we okay, so let me give a couple of minutes so address what extension is needed, and then so we can discuss, okay? Linda?
Okay.
So currently okay, the application interface is required because monitoring interface, okay, pull monitoring data from NSF, and then I2NSF analyzer. This is a new component, okay, in our I2NSF framework using machine learning, and then they detect some security attack or some hardware or software problem from NSF, and then it gives some feedback information. So we need the application interface. Okay, that is one thing. Also, with
Sorry
this
to
kind
interrupt.
Are you sharing
The
anything?
slides
Sorry.
aren't being presented.
I don't see
All I
anything.
see is screen sharing is started. Am I the only one?
No,
oh,
no,
I'm
we don't
sorry.
see anything.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Roma. So I didn't push the confirmation button. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
You were clearly talking about something, but I wasn't seeing it, and I thought that would be helpful.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So, okay. So this is the chartering. The main, okay, the item is to provide some security management automation, such as monitoring data, okay, patched from monitoring interface to I2NSF analyzer. So analyzer, this is a data collector, also performing machine learning to detect some security attack from NSF or some hardware or security or software problem, and then it gives feedback information to security controller. They can augment current security policy, or they make new security policy. So in order to do that, we need a new interface or new element. That is one item. Okay. So eventually we need one interface. Okay. So I explained. Okay. So the goal is that we providing security management automation case, how to extend our framework. That is the question. Okay. And I explained. Okay. And also remember the Roman explained, right? There is some insider and supply chain attack in our applicability document, right? So in order to prevent this kind of thing, we need somehow remote attestation, or we need some auditing. So maybe we can using DLT technology. Okay. Okay. So today apparently explained well remote attestation. Okay. So other latest some technologies, 2KD and the PQC DLT. So we can consider this one. So we can make one applicability and use cases for those current demands. Okay, and then we also consider nowadays there is some migration from virtual machine to a container, such as the cloud native architecture. So we need to consider how to support those kinds of container deployment, okay, for I2NSF. So we can consider architecture, also young data model can be extended for them. The last
I have a question on this one. So for the container-based architecture, are you talking about interface with Kubernetes? Because container is normally managed, controlled by Kubernetes, right?
Right, exactly, yeah. So container case, yes. Okay.
Okay, go on.
So, okay. So container case, it is different from VM, virtual machine approach. So our case, young data model, this is for the virtual machine-based model. So we needed to augment somehow. Okay, that is one input from my collaborator. And the next one is a support recently developed protocol such as QUIC and HTTP3. So during last core capability data model and the NSF facing case, so in order to support this one, we need some extra work. So that is our another goal. So in order to satisfy those demands, and we can extend our framework for security managed automation. So we can make application interface, and also translation is actually important. You can see we can provide some architecture, also some procedure, also mapping structure between high-level young data model and low-level young model. So Roma mentioned that the algorithm itself not standard, right? But we can provide some framework for security translation case. I believe is useful. So we can decide the policy, RFC or not. We can decide later on. And the remote attestation we can work on, and also support DLT-based distributed system auditing to prevent the supply chain and the insider attack. And then I2NSF for container deployment, we can work on it. Also applicability and use cases for security managed automation, including the latest, the quantum computing, something like that. Also some edge, network, the inside computing technology we can consider. And then next three cases, we can extend our current NSF facing capability, consumer facing, to accommodate the new protocols. Okay, so we can maybe revise later. So that is a milestone. Okay, so I just make some estimation here. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
So those are lots of lots of things to do. Any comments from the questions from the group? Okay. So I just have one comment. Oh, Roman, you have comments? Please do.
No, I mean, if Diego, I'm going to drop out. If Diego has things to say, I want to hear from the community. So let me drop out and have the community talk here.
Okay, sorry for the delay, but I had to unblock the phone, etc., to raise my hand, and things are complicated in these days. Basically, it was I wanted just to make a remark on what Linda was saying about the containers and all the like. It's precisely that in general, when you start talking about containers, basically what I had here several times, oh, well, but this Kubernetes take care of this and that. Precisely, we are assuming here, and we are implying in all the process a particular trust model, in which you have the controller, you have the capabilities, you have how you expose the capabilities, you make decision on that. I am under the belief that the use of containers and the fact that you can even decompose functionalities in smaller pieces would imply or would require some changes in some of the assumptions that we have. I mean, it's not that I have the solution or it's clear to me in which aspects, but I think that we have to rethink some of the aspects in the architecture to really match what implies the Kubernetes, microservices, lambdas, and all the like, and think about how we can reason about security functions and their deployment. So I believe that this is that makes the whole thing more challenging. And let me insist, when it comes to attestation, etc., we're talking precisely about adapting the architecture that RATS is proposing to this particular case, and to something that is equally important, that is precisely the automation part, the box, I don't remember right now, the analyzer, how the analyzer performs the analysis, and how you can trust as well the analyzer and what the analyzer decides.
Thank you. Any other questions? I think we are reaching the end. 3 more minutes. Roman?
Hi. So very interested to hear kind of what the community thinks about kind of this list of work. My initial, so first, also thank you, Paul. Like you doing the voiceover with the slides was actually very helpful in explaining what you put in the text. So that's actually, I think that's very helpful to kind of facilitate the conversation. My initial reaction to this is there are definitely hard problems here being enumerated. This seems like a very, very large scope. And it almost seems like in each, I mean, this is my initial kind of first blush reaction of hearing the talk. It seems like every one of those programs of work is almost a working group. We talked most about one specific one about orchestration of containers. That particular thing seems, there's a lot of details to that. There's a lot of choices. That brings together a lot of things to the IETF. Doing a distributed ledger, I mean, we have a whole other working group where we're talking about doing that for supply chain kind of risk management as well. So these seem like very big topics. And to tie this into what I said before, we're 6.5 years into trying to deliver our first tranche of things. I know we're getting close, but we're still 6.5 years kind of into it. So I would urge the working group to continue talking about these and try to really think through what scope they want to tackle first and what bandwidth is there to tackle kind of those scopes.
Thank you.
Very, very, very fast. I agree with Roman that from time to time, I mean, the temptation of this famous term of boiling the ocean in whatever the endeavor that we start is there. The point is that you said it, Roman. It's the fact that the idea is not to invent a new way of using DLTs, or it's not a new way of inventing how to use attestation, etc. It's precisely leverage of what many other groups are doing and trying to profile it for the case. I mean, we are going to, I mean, if you ask me for sure, I will try to climb on the shoulder of giants as Sir Isaac did some time ago, precisely with the idea of reusing all the work that is there and using it for enhancing the architecture. That's basically the idea.
Okay,
But
so
for
I
sure,
agree with
we can for sure we can and we should elaborate a little bit more in terms of priorities. That's sure.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I think we have reached our limit for this meeting. Well, thank you, everybody, and it's very interesting, informative session. And we will continue on the mailing list, especially on the priority of the next 7 works to be done by the working group. As Roman said, we shouldn't make it too big and make it manageable. Thank you. So
And I
we'll
think
see
we
you on the
still
mailing
have
list.
to, I think that we
Yeah.
still have to
Okay,
prove
Philadelphia,
that
right?
there are actually people willing to do the work. There's 22 people in the room. I'm not talking about the physical room, I'm talking about the whole meeting. There's 22 people, and the conversation here has pretty much mostly been 3 people. If we don't count chairs and ADs, it's 3 people. And well, there's Sue, but she didn't speak up, but she is active on the mailing list. Other than that, we're pretty much don't have people. But okay, I guess we need to discuss this on the mailing list and with the ADs.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Okay.
Okay,
No,
take care.
Okay, okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Linda, this is Sue. I'm trying to save the document and publish it. I'm going to download it and send it as well. Okay. I'll download it and mark download in.
Yeah.
That's
HTML.
very good, Susan, and good to hear your voice.
Okay, so
It's good to hear yours. I just
we are
Oh,
missing you.
it was more important. Paul, you did an awesome job.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate your support and help. Okay, Diego, you too. Okay. So we should meet in